Confuse the enemy. One of the ways to confuse the enemy is to do the very opposite of what he is trying to get you to do. You see, for decades, he has been an illegal passenger, an illegal squatter in your mind, taking up real estate in your mind. The Bible says that he is a thief, and a thief tends to think that what belongs to you is actually theirs. And so he has been living there rent-free in your mind. And what makes it even worse is that we feed him. We make sure that when people come against behaviors that are like the enemy, we will defend it, which means we defend him. And so over time, we have fortified him. Over time, we have edified that particular area. But it's time in 2025 to kick the enemy out. So how do you confuse the enemy? Do the very opposite of what he's trying to get you to do. And you cannot do that on your own power. And that's where the deception part comes in at, because he will try to convince you by way of other people with other things, trying to convince you that all you have to do is just have self-control. Can't do it. You don't have self-control. Not to fight an old serpent. So what do? The Bible says in the book of James 4 to submit to God. Resist the enemy and he will flee. What it does not say is resist the enemy and he will flee. That's not going to happen until you first submit to God. Let me tell you a story. A couple of years ago, first I discovered that my mindset started waning toward ways of the world, whether it was because of relationships or people in the ministry. I'm not even sure why, because it was so many years ago. And so I was talking to the Lord and I said, God, I forgive me for allowing my mind to be more carnal, more worldly, and I resist the enemy. I submit to you, I resist the enemy, that he will flee. And so I began to really fight back. I had to fight. Now here's the thing, think about it, because a thief thinks what belongs to you is theirs. So when I want to take authority over my own mind, the enemy will resist me. Why? Because he has been a squatter, a passenger, someone illegal that has been taking free rent, free real estate inside of my mind. And now it's time for me to get rid of him. So I'm fighting in this. I mean, my head is hurting, even physically hurting, and I'm warring against the enemy. And I said, Father, what is going on? Why is this so difficult? Why am I going through all this? And he said, what I heard him say was, he's been used to living there rent free. He thinks that yours belongs to him. So you have to dispossess him to possess what belongs to you. And so I had to go through that process, beloved. That meant that when I wanted to act in my flesh, I had to remember the Lord. I had to first submit to God. And submitting to him is more than just a prayer or a confession. It's a lifestyle. And so in order to confuse the enemy, you cannot do it. You can't play with him. You in your flesh will fail. I don't care how educated you are, how beautiful you are, how savvy you are, how gifted, gab, psychological, whatever you consider yourself that you are, respectfully. It doesn't matter when you're dealing with an expert of psychological warfare who knows your vulnerabilities because he studied you and he knows it better than you do, who has been linked to you even while you was in the womb. You cannot play, and you cannot play with this on your own. You cannot war against this on your own. You need the help of God. So remember, go back to the book of James chapter 4. It's a good chapter to read. And in there, I think around this 8th verse, you're going to read that it says around the 8th verse, somewhere around there, but definitely chapter 4. You're going to read where it says to submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee. And just by you doing that will certainly confuse your enemy. I'm Naima. Please be sure, if this was a blessing to you, drop it in the chat. Don't forget to like and follow. God bless.